And it was Audi's at the front for most of the way, but right at the very end, Bruno Spengler took the fastest lap, and all 22 cars, I'll repeat that, all 22 cars were within 1 second of each other. Great high shot there, gives you some idea of this Herman Tilke design track, which cost some 130 million euros to build. We're sitting up high in the grandstand here as we just get the opening few laps with Mike Rockenfeller, the first to get a time. He's not done a flying lap yet. He's out lap 104.107, but we'll see these times drop below the minute mark and then down into the 59s. So now Rockenfeller, as you see, on a lap. What a great season he's having, concentrating this year on the DTM. And no sports car racing for him this year. Former Le Mans winner. Rockenfeller in the Team Phoenix run Audi as opposed to one of the apps. He sets the benchmark there at 59 seconds. He can go a little bit quicker than this. Remember, they are on the Hankook regular rubber. In the race, they will also be able to use the option tyre, and we are expecting that the options will last a long time at this racetrack, so there will be some very interesting strategies indeed. There is Matthias Ekstrom, the man with the water down his pocket, which cost him the victory. It was his dad, Bengt, who poured the water into his pocket. At Matthias's instructions, we understand, Eki has not explained yet why he wanted the water poured down. It might be actually something to do with personal hygiene. I won't go any further than that, but it was a very curious incident, and for my money he shouldn't be disqualified, because Parc Ferme is all about people not tampering with the cars. But anyway, it's done now. Eki has had the win taken away from him, and he'll be a man on a mission today, that's for certain. Sparks coming from under the Red Bull back car. Now we're watching onboard shots from Rob Wickens, the man who finished second at the race, and he was genuinely second, of course, in the previous round at the Norris Ring. And Rob Wickens having an excellent season in the orange car, second at Brands Hatch. He inherited that win, or that second place, after Gary Paffett had a disqualification. So at the moment it's Rockenfeller, Molina, Farfus and Werner. Not everybody out on track as yet. Down now into the 58s, Rockenfeller with a 58.685. Again on board with Robert Wickens, see the orange on the bonnet of that car, and we've had a lot of orange cars in the past in the DTM. Of course, the old Jägermeister cars, we remember. Wickens with the backing from the Still company. There is Gary Paffett, and Paffett in the number 3 car goes to second place. Now on board with Paffett now. So early days, 11 minutes remaining in this 16-minute session. Just speaking with Andy Priaulx at the Crown Plaza Hotel a couple of days ago at a press conference, and he was telling the Russian media that there is no more intensive 16 minutes in motor racing than Q1 of a DTM race. So that's what we're at the moment. Here is Paffett currently running in second. But one time earlier on in the practice, we had all 8 out, all put my teeth back in, all 8 Audis in the top 8 positions. But it doesn't look as if it's going to be the case now. Edo Mortara, winner for Audi last year. Remember, we've had 5 races, and if we count Ekstrom, we've had 5 different winners this season. Edo Mortara, we're watching him at the moment, comes past the start-finish line. This little sprint version of this track. As I said, 2.5 kilometers. Pretty green at the moment. There's been no racing on this sprint version of the track before. Of course, there's been 2 big race meetings, international race meetings, at this circuit already this year. We had the World Touring Car Championship meeting, and Ivan Muller, one of the winners there. As we've got a bit of slow-mo there of sliding over the red and white lines and kicking up the dust. World Touring Cars was here in early June, and then the World Series by Renault was here on June the 21st, and Stoffel Van Dorn winning both those races, and that was the second time World Series by Renault had visited here. We also seen the World Superbikes here, and of course a tragedy just a few weeks ago when Andrea Antonelli, the Kawasaki Supersport rider, was killed at this track. Rather a freak accident, I understand. On board now with Timo Glock. So Timo Glock, see what he can do. Tambay at the top of the charts now. Tambay just goes into his pit, but Patrick Tambay's son Adrian on a 58.9. So that's pretty close to what we saw this morning in the practice. Tambay, Ekstrom, Green right up there, Rockenfeller, Paffett, Spengler, Werner, Molina. Let's look at the cut now, and currently out is Wehrlein, Whitman, Wickens, currently in 19th place, Prio, Glock, and then Roberto Merri. Joey Hand on the bubble in the BMW, the driver from California. Great onboard sound there from Bruno Spengler's car, and Spengler puts in a fastest middle sector. It's a very short sector is that, and Spengler in the black car goes to the top of the pile. So Bruno Spengler fastest in practice, now top of this group, and just checking the timing screens, see if any of the 6 drivers who are currently not into Q2, if anybody's on a quick lap. And at the moment, I don't see anybody that's really motoring strongly. In fact, of the 6 that are not in at the moment, only Glock and Whitman are out on track. And Glock and Whitman only done 1 run thus far. The others have both done 2 runs. Timo Glock then on his 2nd run. See what he can do. Former driver for Marussia. You must have been to this country a few times on promotional visits. And Timo Glock, no, Glock is 18th at the moment. Remember that BMW have 4 different teams running their 8 cars, running a pair apiece. And Spengler with the Crack Schnitzer organisation. Marco Whitman in the Ice Watches car. You see those stripes? You can buy a watch in any one of those colours. Saw them in a store just the other day. Spengler, Tambay, Ekstrom, Green, Rockenfeller, Paffett up in 6th. What about Prio? Still down in 21st, Andy Prio. Only takes 0.2 of a second to get yourself, well, right into the meat of it at about 10th or 11th place. But finding that round this little 2.55 kilometre track is not easy. Quite a lot of drivers being given some warnings for going wide and off the track limits on turn 1 and in turn 8. I believe is the first and possibly the last corner. I don't seem to have any names for these corners as yet, and if we did, they'll probably be unpronounceable. Yeah. So here we are, Spengler, Tambay, Ekstrom, Green, Rockenfeller and Paff at the top 6 at the moment. Joey Hand has just dropped down into the beneath the cut line at 17th. and see if he can retrieve that situation. It's mainly BMWs there, other than Merry, and Wickens is there in 20th place as well. Just looking still at Timo Glock, and as Augusto Farfus has been a winner this year, he comes out, 2 wins in the DTM for the Brazilian Farfus. So it's Hand, Verline, Whitman, Wickens, Prio and Merry out at the moment. And just 4 minutes remaining. That's of course 4 or 5 laps round here. Hand out by 2/100ths of a second at the moment. That's how tight it is around this Moscow Raceway. This track, which is about 80 kilometers northwest of Moscow. A track that at one time we thought might be used for Formula One. They had an initial deal with Eccleston, and indeed construction here started back in 2009, I'm sorry, 2008. And in fact, David Coulthard was here and basically placed the first stone down for the start of the track. Then had some problems with the Formula One contract. They stopped building the track for a year or so, and then decided they could go on and race here without Formula One. And the main series they wanted was the DTM. And this, of course, a German-built track, and the team which built the circuit was a mixture of Russian and Germans from the Autobahn company. So Jamie Green in 5th place, just on a very fast first sector. Joey Hand, incidentally, just vaulted himself into 8th place now. And it's Tomczyk, Verline, Whitman. Wickens still down there. Wickens is on a lap at the moment. It's looking pretty handy. Wickens' lap was not good enough to get him in. He's still in 18th place. So behind the cut at the moment, you see it on the left-hand side of your screen. And you see that the difference between in and out of Q2 is 0.31 of a second. Spengler still the top of the list, with JB Green second at the moment, Albuquerque, Tambe, Ekstrom, Timo Scheider, Rockenfeller. So we got a Mercedes, then we got 5, 6 Audis, and then we got Gary Paffett, and then other than Spengler, the best BMW is now Hand. And what about Gary Paffett, currently in 8th place? And now the clock ticking away into its final 2 minutes of Q1 here. And the drivers who are out have got to find anything from 3/100ths of a second to, in Merry's position, 0.4 of a second. That is the difference. So we're actually not as close as we were during practice. And Merry has now just moved up 1 slot. Glock is on the bubble, and Mortara is 17th. Tomczyk 18th. Mortara the only Audi that's not in. And we got one off, and let's see who it is. And is that Hand there? That's the could be Hand, I think. So no, it's not. It's Merry. In fact, Merry, I thought I saw a grey car, but in fact, the black had become grey with all the dust. And Roberto Merry, let's see what he did. Carrying far too much speed into there. Then the back end breaks away, and then it arcs across the track and into the gravel and just kisses the wall. And Merry, if he can get the engine, well, he won't get it out of there because it's stuck. Well, that's the end of his session. Roberto Merry, the former Formula 3 champion, is not going to make the cut here. And it looks as if Glock is not going to make the cut either, unless he can get a good lap in now, because Molina's just edged into the top 16. And Glock crosses the line, and Glock stays 17th. And the checkered flag will come out in 6, 4, and 3, and 2, and 1 seconds. Checkered flag is out. Everybody can then complete their lap. The pits will be closed for 7 minutes, as you saw on your screen. And the ones that didn't make it, BMW of Glock. The Mercedes of Wickens had such a good run 3 weeks ago. Tomczyk, the former champion from 2 years ago, hasn't made it. Young Whitman is not in, neither is Merry, you saw him go off, and Andy Prio has in 22nd place, and it was Spengler who finished up on the top of the pile from Green and Albuquerque and Tambay, and Wehrlein put a good lap in near the end. So that was the first 16 minutes. Timo Scheider just completing his lap, and might see some more times come up yet. Glock is just slowing down, coming back to the pits. So a big disappointment for the former Formula One driver. Spengler, though, on sparkling form again here. And Spengler, of course, very close behind Rockenfeller in the championship. In the end, Prio did go just a tiny bit faster, but it wasn't good enough by, well, 0.3 of a second. So, Audi looking very strong, but Spengler in the black BMW, just as in practice, was better than all the Audis. Wickens then being pushed back. Look at the name on the side of the car in the Russian acrylic script. And the car is pushed back in, and Rob Wickens from Canada, who has been a regular in the Final Four, not running so strongly here. Just didn't get the grip levels he'd hoped for. Spengler then from Green and Albuquerque. Tambay and Wehrlein, Ekstrom, Farfus, Timo Scheider, Mike Rockenfeller, Dirk Werner and Gary Paffett. Joey Hand in 12th. Young Cadello, who's been showing a lot of form recently in his first season of the DTM, 13th. Mortara is in at 14th. Christian Vittorius, high up in the championship, is in 15th place. Didn't really mention or see much of him. In 16th place, just sneaking in the final seconds was Miguel Molina from Spain. My Spanish co-commentator not here this weekend, undergoing some rather intensive therapy, and our thoughts and prayers are with him. So these are the ones that didn't make it. Timo Glock, Rob Wickens, Martin Tomczyk, Marco Whitman, Andy Prio and Roberto Merry out of Q1. Nice shot there at the paddock. You see how the circuit goes all the way around the paddock. Some slow-mo shots now of the unlucky 6, starting with Roberto Merry, who trying so hard right at the end, put it off into the gravel. So the Formula 3 champion from 2011 not making it. The Crown Plaza Hotel BMW of Andy Prio in its pink and white colours, also failing to make the cut, and Andy will be disappointed with that. Thought he had a good car. Another BMW not in. Marco Whitman in the multicoloured Ice Watch BMW M3. Again, you see the Russian script below his name. Martin Tomczyk also not making it in the BMW M Performance Parts M3. So not looking good for BM really. Big surprise, Rob Wickens. And in fact, Eve is already down there with Rob Wickens. Let's find out what went wrong with the Canadian.
Robert, that was definitely a surprise. What happened to the qualifying? You couldn't make it to Q2.
Yeah, I don't know. The lap felt good, but it was just not fast enough. So I guess, yeah, I must have missed something.
None of you already raced here at the Moscow Raceway. So how do you like the track? Is it really tricky?
The track's fine. I mean, the problem I have is I'm just struggling a lot with balance in the car, and yeah, I guess clearly some other drivers have figured it out better than I have. So that should be a hard race, but nothing's impossible, so we'll see what happens.
What do you think what is possible, because it's really a narrow and really tricky corners?
I don't know. It's going to be a race by strategy, not by overtaking. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you very much. Really disappointed, Robert. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Well, he mentions that lack of overtaking, but there's quite a long run down into the final corner and a very tight corner at the end. So I would have thought with DRS there will be overtaking down there, but Robert clearly disappointed. He's usually so upbeat and looking down at the timing sheet, and then, well, just disgust written all over his face. And another man with a similar heavy face on is Martin Tomczyk. And just see how lean and mean these race drivers look. Not an ounce of weight on them, is there? Some fans out there. So a lot of fans already come out for the qualifying. This so far this racetrack has proved very popular. It's an expensive piece of Canon kit sitting there. Martin Tomczyk, oh, face like thunder. I don't know if he would be able to get hold of him. She'll certainly try. And more weighing going on. Stand on that red square. And I think that's the back of Dirk Werner we're seeing there. And oh, that's Prio. Yeah, that's Prio's helmet. Well, a parade of BMW drivers there, none of them happy. MoscowRaceway.com. Some fans. It's pretty warm and humid out here. And now we can hear from also an equally disappointed Timo Glock, no doubt.
Timo, I have to tell you, you couldn't make it again to Q2. You missed it by 400.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, we struggled this morning already, but the car was a bit better in qualifying, and the first run was okay. The second run, we just got into massive traffic. I got blocked here on the weighbridge, and then the whole timing for the last set was gone. So I ended up massively in traffic, tried to get a gap, and in front of me was Molina, and he just slowed down every lap. And I think he was just one position in front of me to get into Q2. I don't know if the team told him to slow down to make me slower. I don't know, because it was quite a strange way how he slowed down every time the last sector, and I just couldn't get any free lap with my second set of tires. So that was a bit disappointing, and very disappointing for us. For BMW, I think 3 or 4 cars are out, only one is at the front, so we need to understand why that's the case.
4 BMW are out already in Q1. So actually, do you think the BMW doesn't suit to the track?
I don't know. I mean, we had a good car in the first 2 races, and first 3 races even. And since 2-3 races we struggled, so we need to understand why.
And I've seen you on the podium at the Red Bull Ring. So good luck for the race. Thanks, Timo, and back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Eve. And some interesting comments there from Timo as they go out now for Q2. And this session just 11 minutes long. And Timo mentioned having to come into the weighbridge. And really that is a lottery. And it can put your strategy and your race, your actual run plan completely out of the window. That's what happened there to Timo. Whether he would have got in without it, I don't know. It seems that BMW don't have that much pace here, except that, look at Bruno Spengler. Been the fastest man in practice, fastest man in Q1. So certainly that BMW team, which is, of course, Schnitzer knows something. Looking now at Adrien Tambay. Tambay in the silver car. So let's see what they can do in this session. Adrien Tambay looking pretty good, the young Frenchman then who was brought into the team. Bit of a surprise actually, the start of last year, after a shootout which included the favourite for that ride at the time, René Rast. Rast now has joined the Audi family, but racing in the R8 GT car. Very hand just going through. And Jamie Green with the Red Bull car with the yellow markings. Juncadella looking pretty good. And already Green down to 58.727. So Jamie Green looking pretty racy round here at the moment. But it's all going to be decided by fractions of a second. Wehrlein out on a pretty quick one, the youngest driver in the DTM, still a teenager. And I suspect that pretty soon we'll see Wehrlein jumping near the front. Rockenfeller shown fastest at the moment from Green and Tambay. But second and third sectors on his outlap. Wehrlein was fastest of everyone, so I suspect if he can put 3 quick sectors in now, he will be right there or thereabouts in this Q2. We're going to knock 6 more cars out and leave us with 10. And then if you're used to the DTM, you know we'll knock out another 6. This is where it's different from Formula 1 qualifying, leaving us with only 4, and then they'll have a 1-lap shootout. It's a DTM system which works extremely well. Brings a lot of excitement to qualifying. And our camera's already picked up Pascal Wehrlein, the young Mercedes protege. But his last sector, not quick at all, so he's currently in 6th, and it's Rockenfeller up there at the top of the pile at the moment. Mortara on the bubble at the moment in 10th place. And she's got a slow-mo here. And just wondered if there was a problem with Wehrlein, but didn't seem to be so. So Rocky on 58.654. Go on board with Spengler. Let's see what he can do now. The tourist now on the bubble, and Timo Scheider is in 11th place, Hand in 12th, and Spengler out there at the moment has not done a flying lap as yet, but when he does one, and he's on one now, I suspect it's going to be pretty damn quick. Here we are with the BMW bank car, Bruno Spengler then here in Q2 at this Moscow Raceway, looking into the eyes of the French Canadian. There he is. Sometimes they run this car black with the BMW stripes across the roof. Sometimes they run it black with a white roof, and that's if it's got a white roof, you know it's going to be a pretty hot race. And well, it's one of the warmest days they've had in the Moscow area all summer here today, as Bruno Spengler didn't get a good lap in. Now let's see what they can do this time. Quite a busy pit lane there. So just see in the background work going on. There's Timo Scheider's car. That car, of course, talking of colours, switched from white to black. Timo won his championships in a black car, switched to a white one, and he's racing successfully to go downhill. There's the new for 2013 Euronics colours. And look at the tyre covers kept on to the very last moment, the warmers for Gary Paffett, and we can expect Paffett to have a bit of a fierce run this time. So we've got 4 minutes remaining, so they can probably get 2 or 3 laps on. Wheel gun ratchets up the nut. A lot of sophistication in these wheel nuts and systems. Of course, when Formula 1 changed to no fuel pit stops, we thought that they would be quicker in their pit stops than the DTM. Well, that wasn't the case for the first year, but now, well, we see sort of 2.5 second pit stops in Formula 1 on a regular basis, and these cars are doing 3 second laps with a similar amount. They just have slightly less people in a DTM pit stop, but they do have the automatic pneumatic rams which lift the cars off the ground. But let's concentrate now, as we've got 3 minutes and 30 seconds or so remaining, and it's Rockenfeller still at the top of the pile from Green. Then it's Werner and Farfus and Ekstrom, Tambay, Molina, Wehrlein, Paffett, and Spengler has now crept in 10th place. Vitoris is out, Timo Scheider, Joey Hand, Juncadella, Albuquerque, who went well this morning in the practice session. And now, well, as I talk about Albuquerque, we see a shot of him, and he's obviously on a pretty quick lap at the moment. Felipe Albuquerque, the Portuguese driver. Juncadella goes through our picture, and now Juncadella in the 17 car. Juncadella goes third. Good lap from Danny Juncadella. Remember, he is a rookie. It's the first season in this DTM series, having won the Partner Series Formula 3 Championship last year, and of course just a week or so ago driving a Williams Formula 1 at the test, where we also saw Susie Wolff do a very fine job back with Timo Scheider, and Timo Scheider is now in 10th place. Remember, Scheider hasn't been through to Q3 for quite a while, might not have been through this season in fact. He has once actually. Timo Scheider there in 9th place at the moment. Molina 10th. Scheider drops back to 10th. Ekstrom has now gone to the top of the pile. You're seeing it all on the left-hand side of your screen, and Rockefeller is in 2nd place. And now Dirk Werner goes fastest. So Werner, of course, also in a Schnitzer BMW. Well, that's one Schnitzer team that certainly has its act together here. Now, Spengler is the one that's out at the moment that we'd expect to see in. So, what will Spengler do? Back with the RS5 colours on that red car. The Audi Cup has been done and dusted. Man City beaten in the final by Bayern Munich, I think, if I'm correct. Christian Vittoris in 7th place. Vittoris now in his 3rd season of the DTM. What about Spengler though? Bruno Spengler, is he going to get knocked out and not make it into Q3? That is the big question mark at the moment, with 54 seconds remaining. Bruno Spengler appears to be in trouble, down in 14th place, and Spengler just gets into 8th, but I expected more from the French-Canadian. And Mike Rockenfeller just allowing Gary Paffett to go by. It's Werner, Ekstrom and Rockenfeller, the top 3 with Green, and then Juncadella and Farfus, and then it's Vittoris, and then Spengler, Molina and Tambay, and Tambay is pushed out. So now it's Werner who's at the top of the list from Ekstrom and Rockenfeller. Spengler looking in a bit of a dangerous position in 9th place at the moment with 17 seconds remaining. Most of them out on laps at the moment, except for Green, who's in the pit, and now Ekstrom has gone out again, and Ekstrom having a challenge here. Tambay, who's right at the front, has dropped out to 11th place at the moment. I think Tambay is possibly done here. There's Albuquerque. So all a bit hectic, but it's Werner at the top, and Werner is in the pit, and the checkered flag has been waved. Let's see what sort of time Mortara does, and Mortara crosses the line, and Mortara makes no improvement. You see that Gary Paffett, you know, never forget old big hands there in 7th place. So Tambay appears as the first man to have missed the cut. Timo Scheider hasn't made it into Q3. And we've got 3 Audis there. And Wehrlein, who was looking so good, dropped to 13th place. Werner 58.5 and Tambay 58.9, not in. So 0.4 of a second in the end was the difference. Looking down there on the paddock area, and coming up on your screen, the graphic of the top 8. Werner, Ekstrom, Rockenfeller and Green, Juncadella, Farfus, Paffett and Vittoris. A very short break, and then we'll knock out 6 more, the ones that went. Tambay and Albuquerque. Tambay right near the top of the pile for nearly the whole distance, and then it's just so close here that he is down, starting in 11th place. cars being pushed back into the garage. There is Spengler. Maybe it was just being very clever indeed, but living dangerously. And, well, I still think we might see something special from Spengler as we move on to Q3. Car pushed back then with that wing. Of course, we now have DRS. They'll use it on the straight here prior to the last corner. Confirmation of the 6 that will take no further part in qualifying. Tambay, Albuquerque, Verline, Scheider, Joey Hand and Mortara. You can see all the forest behind here, a very heavily wooded area. We're close to a little village called Shelakovo, but it's just a speck on the map. So fans there, and I'm in that big commentary, grey commentary box, top right hand side of the corner. I missed by just that much, says Tambay. And now our cameraman dives into the next garage, and now we got the slow-mos of the cars that didn't make it. Edo Mortara. His name in Russian seems to have more letters than it does in English, and I can't really explain that to you. Joey Hand then, I wonder how many letters he's got in his name. I'll have a look on the side at Hand not making it, racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last weekend in a Daytona prototype, actually with the Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan. Timo Scheider, they're in 14th place. And then the teenager Pascal Verline raced in the F3 Euro Series last year, called up to the Mercedes squad just a month before the start of the championship when Ralf Schumacher decided he'd prefer to teach the youngsters rather than drive himself. Felipe Albuquerque in the gunmetal grey Audi will start on the 6th row of the grid, and he will start alongside Adrian Tambay in the silver Audi Ultra car. So they're the 6 that didn't make it, and will only be a couple of minutes now before they head on out again, and we'll eliminate 6 more and leave us with the 4 fans there. There's quite a lot of elevation at this track, and there's some very good viewing area for the fans. Not sure she really wants to be here. Mummy, did you really have to bring me to a motor race? And there's Felipe Albuquerque heading to the weighbridge, but now we can hear from Adrian Tambay up near the front for much of the session.
Adrian, you had a good Q1. Actually, now you finished in Q2 with P11. Are you happy with that? You missed Q3, I have to mention it, by 3 thousandths.
Yeah, well, I missed it because actually I did a little mistake in my lap, and I went over the white line. Otherwise I would be in. They canceled my lap, which is normal. The rules are the rules. And DTM is tight as ever, so yeah, I'm just have to get on with it and do a good race tomorrow.
How exciting is it for you to learn a new racetrack here in the DTM?
For me, it's quite nice because I'm a new driver. I mean, a new driver, no, it's my 2nd year, but it's nice to learn new tracks and be on the same level, more or less, than the others that have a lot of experience.
And before the weekend, you said you want to do some sightseeing to Moscow. Did you do it already?
Yeah, we did on Wednesday, but obviously tomorrow evening, maybe if we have a good result.
Hopefully, and then a big party in Moscow. Good luck. Back to you guys.
Yeah, thanks very much, Eve. I didn't see him in Red Square. We did a bit of tourism ourselves. I just missed out seeing Lenin's tomb. We didn't realise that it shut at 1 o'clock, and I missed it by 5 minutes. But what an interesting city, and Red Square lived up to all the expectations. So Timo Scheider there, just discussing with his engineer, not making the cut, and he'll start in. So there's Joey. And we can hear from Felipe Albuquerque, the Portuguese driver.
Right, Andrew. Felipe is with me. How happy are you with P12?
I'm really disappointed. In the morning I was P3. The car changed for the afternoon. I mean, it's a bit hotter. it changed the behavior, but we have to adapt. Now we cannot change anything on the quali. And it was a bit hard to do a lap, but it was a good one. I should be in Q3. I think many of the other drivers should say the same, but I lost 110 in the last sector, in the last corner actually, and you know, I always DTM. Then I would pay hard, and P12 was the only thing possible, but definitely very disappointed because of that.
What do you think about the overtaking for the race tomorrow? Because it's really a narrow and tight track.
It is. Not going to be very hard tomorrow, but we never know. I think the strategy has a really big role on the results in the end, especially the corner 6. There is not big run out, so safety car is possible during this race. We will see, but for sure overtaking is hard.
But your team had at the Norris Ring the 3rd fastest pit stop, so there's a lot of strategy waiting for you. Take the optimism and good luck. Back to you guys.
Yeah, interesting stuff for such a lovely guy, Felipe Albuquerque. Well, a little last-minute work going on the car of Bruno Spengler. Gary Paffett is just thinking his way through a lap. We often see Spengler doing that, just sitting with his eyes shut and thinking his way round a lap. But it's Jamie Green who is at the front. The 2 Red Bull cars, indeed. First 2 out with Green, and then Ekstrom, and then it's Rockefeller, and then Farfus in the blue and green BMW. Expect a few fireworks in this session coming up. Just, well, even now, 10 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. There is Farfus in the Castrol Edge coloured car. We go on board from the side, and the roar of the 470 brake horsepower V8 engines here. DTM at this new Moscow Raceway, just entering its 2nd year. No news coming that next year the DTM will go back to China. Do not know the circuit yet, but certainly a contract has been signed, apparently for 5 years. And the most likely track, as we go past the main grandstand, the most likely track would appear to be the Shanghai Grand Prix circuit. Certainly won't use either of the street circuits they've tried in the past. And maybe Gary Paffett will be cheering for that, because he's won both the non-championship race and, of course, the deciding title deciding race a couple of years ago now in Shanghai on that very tricky circuit that went around the Science Museum. So here we are. Ekstrom already out on a very fast Sector 1, going purple on that. And a little bit quicker than green. So Ekstrom a lot to prove. Smarting from that disqualification. He was the man, drove a fantastic race at Norris Ring, backed up with an excellent strategy, and he sets a marker at 58.604, and that's going to be a pretty difficult time to beat. In fact, 58.604 is about as quick as these cars will go around here, I'd suggest. Rocky on a 58.626, 2/100 of a second slower. Dirk Werner then in the Samsung back machine. Dirk Werner, one of the 2 Schnitzer cars. Charlie Lamb, probably been to more different race circuits in the world than almost anyone. We're threatening to have a look at each other's lists, actually, to see who might have been to the most. Well, I'm on about 130. I think he's on something similar. But we had one more, of course, this weekend here at Moscow Raceway, and a new country too, of course. Dirk Werner, could he spring a surprise here? Werner certainly looking good with this lap. But no, just wait and see the time for Werner. I said no, was I too early? No, goes 5th. So at the moment, the 4 that are in the final 1 lap shoot off, Ekstrom Rockefeller, Green and Farfus. Wehrlein hasn't done a flying lap yet. Here's Bruno Spengler. I suggested that for Q3 and Q4 he'd pull something out of the bag. He certainly lived dangerously in Q2, but now Spengler in there also with a 58.6. So the first three at the moment all within well, a tenth of a second of each other. That is how close the DTM is. Yeah, Pascal Wehrlein, great job then to get it into this session. We'll have to watch out for these track limits. And in fact, I think Wehrlein just been given a flag for going too wide to turn one. This is turn one here. Let's just watch how wide they go. He's keeping the wheel on inside the white line. That's what he needs to do. Wehrlein in the 18 AMG liveried car here to this very tight second gear right-hander. And then the S's here. This section of track that certainly never been raced on internationally. A bit of a lock up there from Wehrlein. Ekstrom the target he's aiming for at the moment. And there on the split, quite a bit down, is Wehrlein. So it's still Ekstrom and Rockefeller, Spengler and Green. That's a quartet we've seen in Q4 in the past, I think. Ekstrom still up there on that 58.6 he did right at the beginning of the session as 5 minutes remain now. And Rockefeller goes fastest. Rocky certainly on a charge, the championship leader. What a great season he's having. Remember, he is driving for the Phoenix Racing team from the Nürburgring, not for the App Sports team, which is considered the #1 outfit for Audi, but for the Ernst Moser run Phoenix team. Also run cars in the GT series with the R8 and at the Nürburgring 24 hours. Very smart outfit. Remember, they won this championship a couple of years ago with Martin Tomczyk. Jamie Green goes fastest on the first sector now. We're going to have a quick lap from Green. A bit of a lock up there might hamper him in the second sector. Let's see what the second sector time works out at. There indeed, he does drop a bit. And that'll probably put paid to a mega lap from Jamie Green. Green, usually a very accurate driver indeed. That's why he's won all those races at the Norris Ring. But he's going to cross the line now, and yeah, Green stays up fourth, but he stays in the shootout section. Farfus, the one that is just below the cut. As Juncadella comes in and just did one lap, went out and came back in again. So maybe he's got a bit of a car problem, Cadella, and well, now they're going to bolt another set of tyres on. Farfus there. Can he break up the Rockefeller, Ekstrom, Spengler, Green party? What about Werner? Can get back into the action here? And well, we haven't seen a lap yet from Paffett. Paffett banking on just 1 or 2 laps here to try and make it into the final 4. So has Paffett got something up his sleeve? Farfus here on a pretty quick lap though. And what's this going to do for Farfus? It's going to get him into 3rd place. Good lap from Farfus. That knocks Green out. And Green now shown in 5th place. And of course it's just a fraction of a second in it as Farfus going very slowly there after that lap. As Paffett goes on to his fast lap now. It's either this one or the next one. And never underestimate Gary Paffett. Also returned to the seat of the Formula 1 car at the Silverstone Young Driver Test. I think Gary would be pleased to be called a young driver these days, but that's what they called it. Does a lot of work for McLaren, of course, continues to do so. And Paffett looking pretty neat and tidy here on this lap. But it's certainly not looking good enough to me for a top 4. And this isn't going to be the lap for Gary Paffett. Maybe he's revving himself up for the next one. Turns that lap in at, 3 seconds off the pace. Christian Vittoris looking quite good now at the moment. And Vittoris with a lap which might probably get him to 5th. Let's see what happens with Vittoris. 7th, in fact, Vittoris at the moment. And it's all, we're talking about fractions here. And what about Paffett then? Paffett does a first sector of 29.4, and that won't be good enough to get him into the final 4 shootout. 1 minute remaining. Paffett will get one more lap in, I should think. Go on board with Gary Paffett. And his middle sector is, well, just on the cusp of 4th place. And what about his final sector for Paffett? But I'm pretty sure this is not going to get him into the top 4. Jamie Green is in 5th place at the moment. And Paffett goes 7th. And Juncadella's on a lap, but that's not going to be good enough either. And there he is in the red Stern magazine car. Juncadella, but still a good run by the rookie driver here at a circuit he doesn't know, albeit they none of them know this track. And Juncadella, yeah, that's certainly good enough for 9th. Now Paffett is on what could be a lap, good enough to get him into the final 4. He could maybe even knock Spengler off. Faster in the first sector, not as fast as Rockenfeller though. And Paffett pretty quick in the second. This might be good enough to get Gary Paffett in, maybe at 4th, and knock Spengler out. Spengler is on a lap as well, and it's not a brilliant one. And let's keep watching the Paffett time now as Paffett comes to cross the line. And Paffett crosses the line. And Paffett goes 7th. So close. We're talking about hundredths of a second here, and it looks as if Paffett was on a really quick one, but not good enough. So it looks as if Gary Paffett will start in 7th place. Anybody else on a lap? Now Werner just coming back to the pits. Farfus is the surprise perhaps, and Farfus now in 3rd place. So at the moment we've got 2 Audis and 2 BMWs in there, Farfus and Spengler, and also Juncadella out on a lap, and Juncadella on a pretty good lap as well. I don't think it's going to be good enough, but he's going to go from 9th up a few spots, I think, with this lap as Ekstrom comes in. Ekstrom will make the final 4. So Rockenfeller, Ekstrom, Farfus and Green. Spengler and Green, I should say. Spengler in there at 4th place, and any one of those 4 as we get flames out of the Werner car as it comes into the pits. And well, heaven knows how this Russian script works. But there you see Gary Paffett be a little bit disappointed with that, I think. Thought he was on one good enough to get him into the final 4. He will start in 7th place. So row 3 of the grid will be Green and Werner. Row 4 will be Paffett and Wehrlein, and then it'll be Juncadella and Vittoris. We go straight down to the pits with Yves and Edo Mortara.
Edo, in the Q1, all the Audis seem to be very fast. Actually, now in Q2, maybe you finished P16. What happened? Sorry, what happened in Q2? Because before in Q1, you seem to be very fast.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really know what happened. I mean, we were feeling very confident before starting this qualifying, and the feeling was good before. And just in, since we started in Q1, Q2, for me it was very, very difficult. I was driving to my limit, but it was very difficult, to get faster and faster. I don't know really why.
and I guess we need to go through data to understand it.
What are your hopes for the race? Because 3 of 5 races you didn't finish.
Obviously, it's another race weekend that I think we can throw in the bin. But you know, we had like 5 bad ones, and I guess one more. You know, it's not will not change our life, and we need to like I said, you know, we need to understand why firstly, and the first ones we were actually competitive. Here we are not, so it's okay.
Hopefully you will not end like at Norris Ring. Thank you very much, Edo. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks very much. Well, Edo, disconsolate there. And, well, we've seen that man there, Dirk Werner, I think in the first Hockenheim race, come from the back row of the grid into the podium position. So, you know, anything can happen in the DTM. Meanwhile, they're out. Green, Werner, Paffett, Wehrlein, Juncadella and Vitoris. And, well, the 2 Brits there, Jamie Green and Gary Paffett, certainly wouldn't rule them out of the podium finish here. But now we're going to have this 1-lap shootout. 4th will start first and set the benchmark time. I wonder if he can get down to a 58.4. It'll be Bruno Spengler. Just seeing highlights here, but we can hear now from Jamie Green, who will start 5th. Not a bad starting spot for the man from Leicester.
Jamie, you finished P5. It's your first trip to Russia. How do you like the Moscow Raceway?
The track's nice, to be honest. I would prefer to do a little bit longer lap, but the flow of the first part's pretty good. So it's a nice circuit. Obviously, it's new, but it's a good facility, and the layout is technical and interesting to drive. So, yeah, I'm glad we came here.
And for everyone, it was the same chance, and you started from the same base. And none of you know the track.
Yeah, that's always interesting because you start with a clean sheet of paper and you don't know what to expect. But it seems like the Audi's working well on this track. So I think I could have got into Q4. I finished 5th. I think there was a bit more time in the car, to be honest. But it's still a decent result, and we can do well in the race from P5.
To forget the Norris Ring result.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's history, and it's the today that counts, and we're going in the right direction, which feels good.
That was 3 weeks ago. So good luck for the race. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, and yeah, can't discount Jamie Green. Of course, with Audi this year, after all that period with Mercedes-Benz, seeing some shots now of the people that didn't get in particular here, Jamie Green. So I said the man from Leicester, of course, now living in Monaco. He's got 2 young sons. One of them still very much a baby. And best of luck to Jamie in the race. So getting ready now for this shootout. And who are you going to put your money in? Mike Rockenfeller. Oh, the start of this has been delayed, we're told. We don't know yet why. So just wait to see what happens. And now we can hear from Pascal Wehrlein, who's with Yves.
Pascal, you were the lucky guy in Q2 because I think your fastest lap time was cancelled, and then you were back into Q3. How happy are you with P8 now?
Yeah, I think I wasn't the lucky guy because they cancelled my lap and I wasn't out with 4 wheels. So yeah, and then it was a lot of stress after that because I was 100% sure that I wasn't out, and then they checked and yeah, they said that I wasn't out, and so yeah, at the end we got some problems because we put already away the heater from the tires, and then yeah, there was a big chaos, and yeah, so P8 at the end, I think it's okay, but yeah, I think without the problems in Q2 it could be better.
So you could have been better without this stress. How do you handle this as a driver?
Yeah, I was sitting in the car and I said no, I'm sure, and this cannot be, and then they checked and they said yeah, sorry, it was a mistake, and yeah, so I was already out of the car. The other drivers were already nearly starting the Q3, and yeah, so at the end it was a bit stress, but yeah, it's still okay. P8 is a good position for the start, I think.
And we're going to see 74 laps tomorrow, so good luck for you. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, remember, he's a teenager, and that, of course, unlocks a mystery, because I couldn't quite understand why Wehrlein was suddenly back in when we said he was out, because he lost that lap for going wide. Well, obviously he didn't go wide enough. They looked at it again, looking at some of the top dogs from the teams, and Ralf Schumacher there with a interesting new pair of spectacles. So Wolfgang Schattling as the head of PR for Mercedes-Benz, also doubles sometimes as the head of the DTM operation when Toto Wolff isn't here. And of course the prestige bands. Eve Scott Gary, so I'll go straight down to her.
A disappointing ending at Norrisring. What about P7 now here in the qualifying for the Moscow Raceway?
It's not as good as we wanted, obviously. I mean, the last two qualifyings we've been fighting for pole position, so we really wanted to get into Q4. But being a new circuit and everything is quite new to us, we didn't quite get the car spot on for qualifying. You know, the balance was okay, but obviously we didn't quite get the most speed out of it. I was pushing very hard. I mean, you know, there may be a 1/10 I could have gained in one corner, but not much more. So there's a bit of a gap to the guys right at the very front. I suppose the consolation is I was the best of the Mercedes, so clearly got the most out of the car. And we're you know, the fourth row. It's not a disaster. Obviously, we'd like to be further up, but you know, we can still score good points from there.
So you could play all your experience. When did you have to learn a new track last time?
A long time ago. I've been around a long time now, and I can't remember the last time I went to a new track. So it's been interesting and exciting. You know, I got used to it pretty quickly, and it's a difficult track. You know, there's a lot of really interesting corners actually. So it's going to be an interesting race tomorrow.
I can tell you, I think it was 2010 with Shanghai.
Probably, yeah, and I won there, so maybe it's a good omen. So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the race. It's going to be interesting.
Okay, good luck for tomorrow. Thank you, Gary. Back to you, Andrew.
Eve, well done. I was going to try and ask you to ask Gary, and well, not ask him, but tell him it was Shanghai. Well, that helicopter is grounded at the moment, and there's a very interesting reason why. And that is why we are not starting this final four shootout, because that helicopter is not allowed to fly at the moment because the airspace has been closed, because Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is flying over apparently in a plane, so they've shut the airspace for the time being, and that is an absolute first for me. So that is the reason we've got this delay. Airspace is closed, helicopter can't fly, so we've seen sessions not go ahead in the past because the helicopter can't fly due to bad weather, but never because a president is somewhere in the airspace. So we'll wait until presumably his jet will fly past pretty quickly, and then we'll be up and running again. I did once go to a racetrack in Dublin where they shut the circuit because the representative of the Pope was going to leave his mansion and go across the track, and so they had to shut it. But this is Vladimir Putin in the airspace, so the helicopter can't fly, so we can't now currently go to the top four shootout. So some drivers getting out of cars, some drivers still in, and getting the feeling maybe now that the session has been stopped, and so we won't have the shootout. And I'm hearing that this space is shut for 2 hours, so I think we probably have got a grid then. I think we'll probably stick with what we have. This is really quite extraordinary. I'm not sure why they have to close the airspace for 2 hours. But I don't expect Dr. Ulrich's experience anything like this either, so he's going to find out from him right now.
Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, I tried to find out what happened. Is it really true? It's now 2 hours off because Putin closed the air because of the helicopter?
Yeah, this is the information we received as well. At the first moment you think it can't be true, but it seems to be true.
Okay, did you ever expect it or experience something like this in the past DTM areas?
No, something similar like this not, but there is one point that is sure. We will not take any compromise on the safety of the drivers. So if the helicopters are not able to start, then we will not run here.
Definitely. Back to you, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I thought Putin was more a fishing man than he was a motor racing man. I'm not sure that he's actually circling overhead looking down, but anyway, this is the rules and regulations. We are in Russia, and Putin is the man. Part ferme, do not touch, it says very pointedly on that car. Bruno Spengler has exited his machine. So we await to see whether they do actually run this four-car shootout, but I don't think they will. I think they'll probably set the grid based on the session Q3 that we've just seen. Is Spengler just putting his hair into place, still looking quite hot. I said before, it's pretty muggy here today. So we'll find out what happens. And it is saying on my screen now qualifying finish, so one assumes that they won't return to this. Just a little bit of history of motor racing here in Russia. A few people have said that this is the first track to hold international motor racing, but that's not exactly true, because since 2010 there's been the FIA European Truck Racing Championship at the Smolensk Ring, and that was the first international race back in 2010 to be held in Russia. Russia really very much behind a lot of other nations with its international racing. Of course, we've had Formula One driver Vitaly Petrov, and I believe he's here this weekend, and also Roman Rusanov has done a very good job at Le Mans in the past and racing. And now we can hear from Rocky, who is the pole sitter, we are told. He'll be excited.
So many turbulences, but Rocky, congratulations, you're on pole position after Q3.
Yeah, I mean, I take it, you know, different countries, you have different rules, and it was quite interesting to sit in the car and all of a sudden to hear, okay, you're on pole. Nevertheless, I think at the end of the day, I mean, Q3, it was the same for everybody. Clear conditions, everybody tried the best, and I think you see the picture. And I think we were strong enough, even in Q4, to do the pole. I was 2 tenths ahead of P2, so I'm very happy. Yeah.
And it seems to be that the Audi suits the track really good.
Yeah, I think we found a good setup. We have a good start setup. That's really important on those weekends where you don't have a lot of time on track. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the race. Hopefully we have good weather, a lot of people, and a good show.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks very much. So Rocky on the pole, and handshakes all around. And there's Dieter Gas, the head of DTM for the Audi company. Here's Spengler coming down, and now we can hear from Augusto Farfus, P3, best BMW.
My goodness, Augusto, okay, you have to get prepared for the TV. So you're the best BMW, P3. You must be smiling from one to the other side.
Yeah, I think it's not bad. We had 2 difficult weekends, the last 2. Then I had to work really hard. Also, this morning during free practice, the car was not optimum, so we had to push quite a lot, and we had a quite tough break between free practice and qualifying. But I'm very pleased. We managed to get the car where we wanted. It's still not optimum, but I think I have enough reasons to be happy with this P3. I want to go to Q4 as well, but unfortunately we could not get that. Therefore we have to wait until tomorrow to race. But I'm very pleased, very happy to see 2 BMWs on Q4.
And you're the best BMW. Good luck for tomorrow. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks very much. Always got a nice smile, Augusto Farfus. Seeing some more slow-mo shots here of Eki. We'll probably hear from him in a moment. I don't know if Yves can get from him what that was all about in that part Ferbe and why his dad poured the water down his leg. He told Andy Prio, when you find out, I'll tell you one day, he said, you're really going to laugh. So we really can't imagine what it might be, but it's going to be something strange. And I just got a feeling it's something to do with personal hygiene. But now we can hear from Eki. Maybe she'll ask him what was it all about. But great performance here as well, of course.
Matthias, it's good to see you smiling back again here at the Moscow Raceway. It's a good time now to forget Norris Ring.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, after some rest, and I did another race in Spa 24 hours, there was plenty of time to think of other stuff. So for sure today was a good day, being back in the car, being in the front row, the best qualifying of the year. So for sure I'm pleased with this, but actually I would like to do Q4 as well, because we had a little bit left, and the plan was not really as wished.
Augusto Farfus said the same. What about your pockets?
You still have pockets. Just kidding. Pleased to see you back on P2. Good luck for the race. Thanks, Matthias. Back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, well, that was a sort of pregnant pause there, wasn't it? We wondered if he'd had the pockets sewn up, but from what I understand, he did ask his dad to pour the water in there for whatever reason. So we can only think about it, but for sure it wasn't any performance reason. Rocky then being greeted by Dr. Ulrich. And, well, the intrigue continues here at the DTM. Just to recap, Q4 being cancelled because the airspace is closed, because somewhere in the vicinity is a place